What's going on, guys? Saga Plays are coming at you with another Yu-Gi-Oh! Solo Duel. It's been a bit since we last played. They did release new Legend of the Star Hero plus Invincible B Troopers. Previously, Star Heroes was a couple weeks ago. B Troopers was a week or two ago, and they also did another SP deck challenge before those two ever came out. But I held off, so I have a so it can somewhat build up, and I can pretty much record these uh, pop out content while I'm also taking classes though. Yeah. But so Legends of the Star Hero, that's pretty much a whole story in itself. It's different compared to the rest of the solo modes. It pretty much has originally it had one gate or two stories or two chapters, and now it has the third, secret powers of the plant, which we will be doing today. So details of it is Arm and his linked comrades, the Crusadia, are up against a new foe, the Orcust, who can be called from the graveyard even after they are destroyed. One question remains: who is the mastermind behind these menacing machines? A new world legacy battle is about to be unleashed. So Legend of the Star Hero, that's pretty much, you go through until I think it's, wow, that's a lot of story. I think it's pretty much you go through until you complete or like go over all of uh the all of the what is it, world legacy cards. So yeah, because there was Chalice, Lance, Shield, Arm, I think Armor or Arm. It was like a giant hand. But yeah, this is a lot of scenarios. But let's begin. This Crusadia Maximus. That's like Arm with the Mech Knight armor. Alright, let us begin. The secret powers of the planet. I think I said plant earlier, but it's planet. A few years had passed since that nightmare of a tragedy. When Aurum awoke, he found that the girl and her brother were no longer with him. Was Ib really gone now, for good? The loss of the girl had its grip over Aurum's heart like an unbreakable vice. I couldn't protect Ib. If only I were stronger, then her death could have been avoided. It's kind of getting a bit laggy. Let me plug in my laptop so it'll help with power. The battle had left a chasm in Aurum's heart. Now that Ib was gone, Aurum had tasted for the first time just how terrifying a battle could be, and how devastating losing someone you treasured could be. He didn't have the heart to go on with his journey, not for now. However, there was still one thing on his mind that bothered him. It was Ningirsu. Now, Aurum still had no idea where he had gone. No doubt, despair had taken him, now that his beloved sister was no more, and when Aurum thought about how Ningirsu must be feeling right now, his heart became fraught with an unmovable weight. But that was exactly why Aurum had to go after his childhood friend, and so the swordsman resumed his journey with Imduk. It was when panic was beginning to settle in Aurum's mind. Was it coincidence, or did the Mech Knight that dwelled within him lead him to it? Yeah, I think he merged with one of Mech Knight's like previously, so yeah, he got Mech Knight powers now. He stumbled across a dormant crawler. It occurred to Aurum that this might lead to a clue. He could try and restore it and see if its communication system still worked. Alright, that's the first one down. Crusadia Maximus with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 2 more up top, so 7. Oh boy, good thing I got water next to me. Oh, this is a card sleeve, or protector, and is what they call it, but it's pretty much a sleeve. Aurum succeeded in restoring the crawler and gained access to its communication system, along with a number of records that detailed areas in which the swarms were active and data on locations where many crawlers had been destroyed. Perhaps there was still some life left in those areas, and if there was, maybe they would know where Ningirsu had gone. Armed with his new clue, Aurum set off to the areas he had gleaned from the records. However, as useful as the information was, it unfortunately didn't make Aurum's expedition any easier. There was nary a sign of life to be spotted anywhere, and the journey was looking like it could end in vain. Nature, uncaring and unrelenting, continued to batter the two mercilessly. But at last, a glimmer of hope at the end of an arduous tunnel, Aurum and Imduk had stumbled across the remaining tribes of the planet. That of a fiery recluses, the stalwart beasts, the sacred lakeside trees. Although this encounter brought no clues as to Ningirsu's whereabouts, Aurum and Imduk were blessed with the legends and knowledge of the tribes. And by linking them together, Aurum was able to unlock a great secret power of the world and witness the tremendous power that slumbered in its depths. It made him think of the world chalice powers that were bestowed to him. But this was far greater, hiding unbeknownst to the dwellers of the planet. Was this what Lee had sought? Aurum thought. Lee was the fairy who pretty much gave the trio the access power, showed them the world chalice, and last chapter it turned out she was evil and it killed, and she ended up taking possession of this girl, whose name I'm forgetting, and she died at the end. So, yeah. What were the more secrets dwelled beneath the surface? One of them was the rebirth records, inscribed with the history of the planet, chronicles from generations long forgotten. And the other, bygone memories of the planet's glorious age where humans ruled from the apex. Long, long ago, there was a god who ruled the skies. With dragonkind as its disciples, it perpetuated the cycles of destruction and rebirth to maintain the balance of the realms. However, the scale of destruction grew bigger each time, and one day the balance of the two was thrown into great disarray. Once this delicate balance toppled, even the sacred skies could not hold back the destruction it wrought. The god decided that it could no longer oversee the skies by itself. With its power of creation, it brought forth layers and layers of the toughest earth and sealed the powers of destruction within. With nowhere to go, the powers raged and raged until it boiled and scorched the very earth, morphing it. The torrent of power rushed through the land and merged with the powers of creation, leaking out onto the surface. It became a small manifestation of the cycle of death and rebirth and gave life to the lands. With the last of its strength, the god then turned itself into a key and entrusted it to the life blooming on the planet before vanishing. In the years following its disappearance, the powers of destruction re-emerged on the surface many times. However, every time it did, the life on the planet would use the key and with the help of the dragonkind, push it back to whence it came. Over time, the key became known as word. Okay, and the power of destruction as the Great Darkness. Thus, the great legend of the world hero was born. Starlit hero, your sword swathed in light, may you triumph over the great darkness. Alright, just give me 1 second. Whew. Still more reading to go. Alright. Okay, that looks like advanced civilization right there. Man, Legend of the Star Hero is very detailed in story. Decades, centuries, maybe millennia passed since the beginnings of the rebirth records. The land was now populated with life known as humanity. There were a civilization who had gained scientific knowledge and technological know-how and were at the height of their prosperity. Their glory came at a cost, for it not only tore the planet's gifts away from it, but also the dragons who protected it. The god and the dragons that had faded into obscurity as mere tales. And it was during this time that the key was excavated and uncovered. The humans were exhilarated by such a legendary and mystical find. Although its authenticity became gradually acknowledged, some expressed worries and doubts at the discovery. What did it mean for the key to have resurfaced in this time? Was this an omen, warning them of an inevitable battle between the world hero and the great darkness, like the legend said? Now that they could see that the key existed in its sword form, did this not also mean that the powers of destruction were indeed sealed deep within the planet's crust? Humanity began to assemble their finest to analyze the key. Within the team that had formed, there was a scientist who has shown her talent in all fields of medicine, astronomy, and archaeology. Her name was Lee. Lee was known all over the world as the foremost authority on computer science. So I think this is like a whole civilization was at the height of its like scientific life, and then something happened and it regressed back to like medieval style, like where magic, swords, all that stuff became abundant. But yeah, I guess this was Lee before she became like a fairy. The analysis was able to proceed smoothly thanks to her involvement, and not long after, the team branded itself as an organization called Crusadia, under the jurisdiction of the Confederation of Nations. Once they had analyzed the key further, they began to draft a plan that would help fight the imminent threats to their planet. It would involve warriors of mechanical nature, and they called it Project Mekk-Knight. Okay, yeah, so this is pretty much backstory, which is nice, because, like, I am right, apparently. Legend of the Star Hero, you begin in the future, and then this chapter, you get a bit of knowledge of the past, and you learn about what happened prior, like how Mekk-Knights were formed, I guess how the World Legacy stuff was created. Maybe the World Legacy gets created here, but who knows. But yeah, work was to proceed without a moment's delay. Meanwhile, Lee drew up a hypothesis and sought to validate it in secret. She wanted to get to the root of the appearance of the darkness that world hero legend spoke of. Recorded in the legend were multiple tales of the key being used to drive back the great darkness by harnessing the powers of creation and destruction. It was a simple enough story. The great darkness would appear, and the world hero would fight it back with the key. However, could the reverse also not be true? That using the key was the very thing that drew the great darkness out? There were those who were entrusted with a divine mission, and the conspirators who sought to revive the powers of destruction. The world hero legend was ultimately a story of their power struggle over the key. Whoever has the key will control the fate of the world. Or so went Lee's hypothesis anyway, and the more time she spent trying to validate it, the darker her ambitions grew. The divine powers will be mine. So I'm guessing, so this pretty much was a backstory. I'm guessing this one will continue on with backstory. Yeah, I guess this is like the scientific age gets destroyed because, as you can see, I guess that's a Mech Knight, or like an early model of the Mech Knight. A few years have now passed since Project Mech Knight began. Yep. And finally, Mech Knight of the Morning Star was complete. It had been fitted with a core powered by the key and possessed enough power to fight the most deadly of wars. However, an incident occurred during its test run with none other than Lee as its test pilot. With the key, she had reversed all of the celestial powers coursing through its mechanical body and diverted them onto the planet's core, faster than anyone could make a move. Lee had planned all this out before taking her place as a test pilot. The power that had flowed into the planet's core split the lands, and once again, the destruction from within overflowed to the surface, scorching every bit of Earth that it touched. The entire world was beginning to split apart in this unprecedented disaster, and the revival of the Great Darkness drew ever nearer. Okay, the other Mech Knights. However, its resurrection was not without its obstacles. The Crusadia had created assistive units. The Crusadia had created as assistive units 7 Mech Knights in total. The remaining Mech Knights faced off against Mech Knight of the Morning Star and destroyed it, sealing away the Great Darkness back within the Earth once more. But the Great Darkness was at the end of the day a divine force, one that the mortals failed to seal away completely. Inspired by the key, the team decided to put their powers into physical vessels of their own and left them on the surface as legacies. Yeah, the world legacy pieces. Now that the lands were ruined, it was getting harder and harder to live in such conditions. It seemed that life on this planet would be gradually snuffed out, including humanity. The reason why the master of the key, the world hero, did not appear in our time of need is because we humans drained the planet of its powers. Thought the Crusadia, they began to mobilize to put an end to humanity's so-called glory, as it was the largest obstacle to the revival of the barren lands and the planet's chances at surviving. They left the 7 Mech Knights they had built in their ruined world after they were programmed with instructions to help rekindle the planet. The Mech Knights were also installed with data of the Crusadia members they had established a brain link with. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so there was originally 8, and they destroyed Morningstar, so it's now 7. If the lands could be held once more, and the planet could take back the power it once had, then perhaps they could avoid imminent disaster. The Crusadia left all their hopes to a faraway future they may not even reach. However, there was one thing they failed to realize. The master behind this incident was Lee, and she had been taken by the burning lands. When she was found, she was already dead. But only in flesh. Her soul had been released from its physical vessel, and she transformed into World Legacy, World Chalice, her will and knowledge. So Lee literally became a World Legacy item. Wow. And I guess like the fairy form was like a manifestation of her. And then the New Crusadia. The tremendous power that dwelled within the planet was the very thing that Lee was after. Thought arm, suddenly he was struck by a sense of terror. He could feel a great force of malice that threatened the planet, but from where he could not tell. Perhaps someone somewhere was beckoning to the darkness, trying to bring it forth. He had to stop them before another terrible disaster happened. And in that moment, in Orm's mind, the figure of Ningirsu appeared. The figure of his childhood friend, tormented with sadness and the loss of Ib, seeking darkness in his despair at the world. Although slight, he could feel Ningirsu's presence within the malice. It couldn't be. Orm regained his uneasy heart in. He would need help to stop this malice. He asked the elders of each tribe to lend him their strength, and they answered his pleas. With a great number of warriors and the tribes united in a formidable alliance. They named themselves after the warriors of old, and their writings spoke of, and thus the second coming of the Crusadia was born. The Crusadia were taken to a hidden spot at the tribe of the Sacred Cheese and activated World Legacy, World Crown. Orm and his companions had now obtained power that could help them combat the malice and threaten their world. Alright. The Crusadia began their advance toward the giant tower at the center of all the malice. The orchestrated Babel, towering into the sky in its metallic magnificence, surrounding it were the Orchest, mechanical weapons waiting on standby in the silent formation. So these are like musical instrument based monsters. At the tower's base was Ningirsu, and activating World Legacy World Wand was the only thing on his mind. Now that Orm could see his childhood friend, the swordsman could only think about how much sadder he looked. Orm prayed he was only overthinking the situation, but he knew that their reality was not a kind one. Ningirsu was here because he wanted the powers of darkness, and he was at the center of the malice Orm had felt. That was the truth that awaited him at the end of his long search. But no matter how much time had passed, no matter how things had changed, one thing that remained the same was that Ningirsu was still his friend. Orm thought about what he could do now that he was here. He had stopped Ningirsu from starting a disaster. He had to stop Ningirsu from starting a disaster that could mean the end of the world. The only one who can stop this villainy is me. Orm thought, gathering all his courage. He signaled for his companions to mobilize. And now, a new battle was about to begin. Alright, and then the lock opens up. Okay, can be a lock when you long your suit. Okay, so I'm guessing, yeah, okay. Okay, that's kind of dumb. Like, yeah, I guess they could do it so it's like you don't have to scroll and keep scrolling sideways, but like still. Like, so pretty much it's, you got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 scenarios before you can begin the locked straight passage. You gotta read it through 8 scenarios. Wow. Ningirsu's Sorrow. So in the second title. Oh. When Ningirsu saw what had happened, a bolt of guilt pierced through his grief. Even in his desperation, he never imagined this would happen. His eyes could hardly believe what they were seeing. How did all this happen so fast? He prayed that he was dreaming and that he was going to wake soon. All he wanted to see was his dear sister again. As the scene of another nightmare unfurled around him, he became embroiled in a storm of emotions. I need to save Ib. Even as his mind was numbed with stupor, Ningirsu's body began to move without command. He knocked out Aram, and what looked like an impulsive choice, he struck his childhood friend unconscious, taking both the other man's sword and Ib. What good was this world if Ib were not in it? He would do anything, be it good or evil, if it meant that he could see her smile again. That single thought of getting his sister back was all Ningirsu needed to force his weary limbs forward. He had the Meknite cores from when the six nightmares were defeated. And now, he also had the sword he took from Oram. Using the facilities that were still present in the Meknite headquarters, he analyzed the artifacts with feverish desperation. This world possessed a mythical power similar to that of the world legacies, and if anything had a clue regarding its specifics, it would be the Meknites. They thought they might even have a way to bring it back. Although he was unable to glean a way to resurrect Ib, he learned a great deal about a number of facilities from the ancient civilization. Ningirsu left the Meknite headquarters and set off to each one of them with the lifeless body of his sister in tow. Many of the facilities he visited had already ceased to work, and the ones that barely did provide little to no useful information. However, Ningirsu never gave up. There must be a way he could save Ib somehow. With that unwavering belief in his art, he resumed his grueling journey. And finally, at long last, he discovered an ancient facility that was still in working condition. Alright. So pretty much this is a Ningirsu's side of the whole... Pretty much this is Oram's side of when he got knocked unconscious to now, and this is Ningirsu's time. Pretty much, he gets 2 stories. Aram, the main character, gets multiple. After countless weary roads walked, Ningirsu had gone through more information than any average man would in his life. He had thoroughly inspected the Meknite cores and several ancient facilities. With what he had gathered, including files on the key and technologies thought to be long lost, he had finally unlocked the secrets hidden within the planet. And the truths of the world that had been shrouded in mystery, Ningirsu trembled with joy. He could revive his sister now. With his newfound certainty, Ningirsu set about creating a vessel that could house Ib's soul using the ancient technologies. However, this task was to be the most difficult yet. Trial after trial resulted in countless failures and their byproducts. And as the days ticked by, he amassed enough vessels to create his own army. But at last, his efforts paid off. He finally created a mechanical doll that would work. By synchronizing the doll with the body of his dead sister, he also succeeded in reinitializing the functions of one of the twin swords vital to his plan. So much time had been poured into this endeavor, but at least there was something to show for it. A strange sense of elation began to bubble within Ningirsu. His sister had given her life for this world, and now it's time for him to create a new world for her. Now that Ningirsu had the mechanical doll's powers, the second step of the plan was to build orchestrated Babel could finally begin. Alright. One moment. Alright. Now we can begin. Open the locked and begin the practice. Okay, so I guess no matter, I'm going second this go around. Usually it's first, or they would immediately start with your first or your second. But I am second, so what makes a Crusadia deck unique? This deck can allow you to link summon multiple times, especially when used in tandem with monsters whose effects let you special summon to a zone that a link arrow is pointing to. Excuse me. Use this to your advantage and summon even more powerful link monsters to the field. Crusadia link monsters also gain a helpful boost in attack from monsters that they point to. Bolster your attack by summoning more powerful monsters to zones your Crusadia link monsters are pointing to when you're up against an especially tough opponent. Alright. Yeah, so literally the only reason I'm going second is just so I could one turn KO him. OTK him. Equimax. What was it? First normal summon Reclusia and use it as link material for Magius. I'm not gonna add Crusadia to the name because most of them are pretty much, majority of the cards are Crusadia monsters, outside like the World Chalice cards. Leonis. Activate. Get you. Maximus. That's literally just Aurum. Why not just call it Crusadia Aurum? 1, 2. Okay. Link 2. Now get Maximus with the effective and activate Regulix. Get the field spell. Alright. Equimax, so Aurum's upgrade. Or another upgrade. Yeah. Alright. Raise the attack of Crusadia. Activate you. Okay, and that still makes me 2,000 short, which you will make up the difference for. Battle. Okay. Furious Machine. So I'm guessing at the end of this, Ningirsu will be defeated and gone. Or dead. Maybe dead. I don't know yet. But, this goal, okay, yeah. So pretty much the 2 lock gates, those are just different. But, so after this duel, we'll get to the goal. Man, sorry for this video being long. It was mostly scenario, the story taking up majority of it. But, I'll try and finish this quick. And I did also, like, alter my Blue Eyes deck. My Blue Eyes deck, because so many decks were involving Destroyer, Phoenix, Destiny Hero, Destroyer, Phoenix, Enforcer. So I more or less added hint like 2 Destiny Heroes and like the Destiny Fusion spell. All right. Special summons your defense. Okay. Do that. Put 1 Crusadia monster. Okay. Link this up. Sure. I'm just going to activate these guys as effects. Select 2 cards to target. No. Sure. Arborea. It's banished. Add Maximus to the hand. Special summon. Sure. You, sure. Field spell. What do you, yeah, okay. You can only special solo increasing on once per turn. You can target 1 link monster you control this turn. If it battles an opponent's monster, any battle damage it inflicts to your opponent is doubled. And also, other monsters you control cannot attack. Okay. Activate that. Oh, wait. What does this do? Target one Crusader this turn. Even if this card, you can attack all monsters your opponents control once each. You can also other monsters you control cannot attack. Get Equimax, or yeah, Equimax. Nope. I guess set that and swing with 25. End the turn. Stand by. Oh, I could quick play this. That's fine. Okay. Draco. Target, sure, Maximus. Okay, tribute one Crusadia or World Legacy monster, then one face-up card your opponent controls. Yeah, it's fine. Special summon. Nah. Activate. I can double any, yeah, inflicts double damage. Okay. Attack. Oh, what? I thought it inflicts double. You can target one Crusadia Link monster you control if it battle. Oh, if it battle an opponent's monster. Okay. Oh, I should have said that. Whatever. Then target one face monster your opponent controls. That target loses. That's fine. Sure. I thought, honestly, you should have swung with Draco. Swung at Draco. I would have lost 5 points. Change to defense. Finish one up face-up monster you control until the end of phase. And target one face-up monster your opponent controls. That target loses attacking defense equal. That's fine. Sure. Oop. Attack. Activate you. Targeting you. This should protect it. Yeah. Unaffected. Continue to attack, and that'll be it. Alright. Then I'll just sweep this through with my Blue Eyes deck. Alright. Clear. Okay. My deck. Blue Eyes. And I go first. Doesn't do the coin flip here anymore. And that's fine though. But yeah. Okay. And I guess I can get my Hope Harbinger out. Dragalubion. Okay. Send you. Hope Harbinger. 46. End the turn. Okay. And if need be, just Raigeki the face off. Draw 2 cards. Nah. Nope. You're not getting additional cards. I won't let you. Alright. World Legacy, World Wand. So that's Wand. Okay. What the? You get armor out. Linked into Galatea. Galatea, the Orchest Automation. Okay. This card. Alright, Geki, you. Oop, activate you. Umon. When your opponent normal special summons, you can take one Orchest. You can wait. If your opponent normal special summons a monster, you can take one Orchest monster and either send it to the grave or banish it. Yeah. I'll negate your continuous. Just give me everything. Activate you. Send you. Battle. Attack. And we're done. Alright. So I guess the Legend of the Star Heroes is going to end with this. I hope Konami does more like the more solo modes, like solo stories like this. It's fun. The Crusadia headed toward where Ningirsu was. However, before they could reach him, they had to get past the countless Orchest weaponry. The Orchest were merciless as they were numerous. The Crusadia suffered greatly as they tried to fight their way through. In the heat of the battle, Orm began to feel that within the orchestrated Babel, there dwelled a power similar to that of his key. A mechanical vessel used whatever little of the key's power they had inherited and activated orchestrated Babel. Kind of creepy how the eyes aren't open. From the depths of the tower, a great light was released, and the tower itself seemed to almost fall away with it as the beam stretched into the sky above. No, the activation must be stopped, Orm thought as he dashed toward the machinery. However, before he could move any further, Ningirsu appeared before him. It was the first time they had seen each other since that tragedy long ago. Their eyes met within the chaos of the battle. Orm opened his mouth to speak. Why, he asked. Would you want anything to do with the great darkness? Why put our planet under threat like this? Why did you create this spiraling tower and this army of mechanical weapons? Ningirsu had only one simple answer for him. For Ib. It was the only reason he needed. For his sister, he was willing to activate Babel to strike the World Legacy World Wand down from the skies and break the Earth's surface, so he could awaken the slumbering World Legacy World Arc and use its influence over the life and death to revive Ib's soul. Then, after the Great Darkness had been freed from within the earth, he was going to use its power to resurrect Ib as a celestial being. Now that he had heard the truth from Ningirsu, Orm readied his sword and knew that he had to stop this at all cost. Ningirsu didn't budge, and instead swung his lance in return. No one was going to stand in his way, not even Orm. The swordsman knew that Ningirsu loved Ib more than anyone in the world, but that did not make it right for him to put their entire planet in danger like this. Orm knew that Ib would not want this, even if it meant that she could live once more. However, for Ningirsu, there was nothing he wanted more than to see his sister open her eyes again. And if it meant that he had to turn against the entire world, then so be it. Both men had already made their minds up on what they wanted to achieve. Neither wanted to budge, and so they clashed, but neither could gain a decisive advantage. The orchestrated Babel activated, and at last, the world wand had been toppled. When it fell to the earth, it gored the land below, and resulting shockwave reverberated across the entire planet. Okay, so never mind. I guess there is going to be another chapter. I was wrong. Alright, orchestrated attack. But with that, the secret powers of the planet is done. Star-studded features. Okay, no. I'll pretty much be completing these locked portions by myself, but next video will come out Wednesday. That'll pretty much be the new schedule. It'll be Mondays and Wednesdays, because that's when I have time between classes, and we'll be doing the Invincible Bee Troopers, and then after that, another SP deck challenge. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Sorry it was long, but I wanted to read through all the scenarios and let you guys see it for yourselves if you decide to skip through it. But this is Saga Plays, signing off. Bye!